Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Football Focused. And today we're going to be looking at the Euros, we're going to be looking at England, we're going to be looking at Denmark, Italy, and we're looking at a few things closer to home with the Premier League. So, firstly, we're going to ask the question that seems to be getting asked all over the place right now in this country: is football coming home, Steve?
It's got as good a chance as any. It's got as good a chance as any. Playing quite well at the moment, haven't conceded a goal. If they're going to do it, they'll do it this year, mate. But there are a couple of pretty good sides left in the tournament. One notably good side left in the tournament. Good chance. Playing well. They are playing well. I know it's pragmatic football, and they're not really. I know score 4 goals, but let's be honest, Ukraine gassed themselves out of the game before, mate, emotionally and physically, to get to where Ukraine got to get to there. And the way that they did it, it's hard to keep going every sort of 72 hours, isn't it? So I think they're going to do it. This will be the year, mate. They've got a good chance. Anyone who's left in the tournament now can win this, and that includes England.
If England do get past Denmark, because we can't without under any illusions that that's a certainty, and they do play in the final, I think they'll play will be Italy. How do England beat Italy? What do they have to do to stop the Italians?
Well, they seem quite defensively strong, as I said in the previous answer. They've not conceded a goal yet, so that bodes well. I think when you're playing teams like Italy, you can't focus on what Italy's strengths are because you can get lost in that. You need to focus on what you do well. And England have got a threatening attack in themselves. I'd still like to see Jack Grealish play because I think he's a game changer. So, fundamentally, listen, if it's Italy, it's a tough game, isn't it? Because Italy are flying at the moment, and the way they pass out through the press is ridiculous. And that's something we are doing at the moment, which is pressing. So I think if we went into that game, Italy would probably be the favourites. But it's a final. Anything can happen. Italy are not really guys that you can't rule about. Can you? They're playing sensational football. They're lovely to watch, and their strengths will be test our defence in the way that nobody else has. So it's been an interesting game, been an interesting matchup. Do we try and counter them, or do we do our own thing? Is basically what I'm saying. And I think we've got to focus on our strengths. It's an old adage: worry about yourselves, and then play to your own strengths, and not worry about your opposition.
So we spoke about England. We'll move on to one of the surprises of the tournament, which obviously will be Denmark. First of all, don't want to stick too much on it, but how much has the Everton situation spurred Denmark on, Steve?
Massively. They've got a point to prove to themselves. They want to sort of stick 2 fingers up to UEFA. UEFA mucked them were awful. That was appalling what they did to them on the day that Ericsson would just take nil. So to force them to play the game, imagine standing on the platform getting presented the trophy by the president of UEFA. You'd want to stick 2 fingers up to him, wouldn't you? So it's kind of like really good opportunity for them to answer in the best possible way, which would be to win the tournament. And don't get me wrong, they're organised. They're a good side. The Danes have always been good. They didn't win it for nothing. I mean, I know they got in as a wild card when they did win it, but they've always had good players. You look back across the years. You've got the Laudrups. They've got creative players. They've always had a good work ethic. They always do quite well in the tournament. I always see them around last 16, last 8. And they've got this extra motivation to kick on, haven't they, with what happened to Ericsson? And rightly so. And if it's not England, mate, I'd have no problem. In fact, I'd have no problem with Denmark winning it anyway, because I think the way they've been treated to Poland. But I do think England will get through that game. But Denmark are a credit to themselves, credit to their country. And I love the solidarity and the backing and the support that what happened to Christian Eriksen. They've risen out of adversity, and they've got something to play for. I think that's tremendous. I wish they were in the other semi-final because I've been willing them to get to the final. So mate, good side, well organised with something to fight for. That makes them dangerous.
Within club football, we talk about second teams and the second team after you support your own. With what's happened to Denmark, have Denmark become everybody's second team? And if your team doesn't win the Euros, you want Denmark to win them?
Yeah, absolutely. And for those people that are not European, they're probably looking at Denmark thinking, go and win it. You're Australian, New Zealand, South American, the flight to the pit of the people who didn't qualify, for instance. Why not? Why not pick Denmark as the team to win it? It would be a bit of a fairy tale after what happened. They lost their talismanic player, and he was creative, and he is a great footballer. But they just seem to have dug deep and found something, and they've got some quality players. And mate, everybody will be rooting for them. Everybody.
Does Denmark have an outstanding player for you, a standout player? Who's the one who can make things happen for Denmark?
It's Goldberg, isn't it? Goldberg, the guy who keeps getting involved in all the goals. He's a good player. I think the thing with Denmark is, and even with Christian Eriksen in the side, Denmark are not a team full of egotistical maniacs and superstars. It's just full of people that go out there, roll their sleeves up, and play for the shirt, play for the country. And they've always been like that. Even the Laudrups are very grounded guys. Evan Elkjaer was another guy from the sort of 70s and 80s or 80s who was really talented footballer. They are grounded people, and they do things the right way. So I like what they do. If you're going to run a club side, look at the Denmark model and say that's guys who replace extra quality with discipline, hard work, and a willingness to leave it out there for each other. And they absolutely do every single week, mate. Every single game they turn up, and you're in a game. And I love it. I love the way that they go about it. So as I said before, if England don't win the tournament, I'd be more than happy for Denmark to do it. It would be great for them to take the trophy off the chairman and the president of UEFA, given what's going on. It would be a real two fingers to them, wouldn't it?
It certainly would. So let's move on to the Italians, Steve. How good are the Italians? Are they really that stand out, or has it just been a bit of an erratic tournament?
No, you don't play 32, 33 games without losing. Sort of 10 games without conceding a goal unless you're good. Mancini stumbled across a great squad. He's got two stalwarts playing the centre defence in Mancini and Bellucci and Chiellini, who are absolutely superb. The Spinazzola rupturing his Achilles tendon is a major blow for them because that left side, he's been absolutely tremendous. He won't play for 6 months after that injury. That's a real blow. They'll probably draft in the lad, Everton, who can't get a game at Chelsea at the moment. He's likely to play. So they are that good, mate. The angles, they kill you with angles. They're very, very technically good footballers. Lorenzo Insigne is a quality player, and Chiesa is a quality player. You can go through the whole team, mate. They're all good. Immobile is a goal scorer, albeit not one that's firing at the moment, but he's a quality player, mate. And then they've got the keeper, who is a monster, huge, big guy, gets down well, gets things around the posts, and fullbacks are good too. So. Yeah, they're a very good side. If they win this tournament, they'll come out of it. And arguably, you could make a case to say they're the best international team in the world. But England can beat them. The things that England are good at, i.e., playing on the counter with pace. You look at the two centre halves at Italy and you think, do they really want to go up against Sterling or Sancho or someone with pace? Do they really want to go up against Jack Grealish, even a Marcus Rashford who's very, very quick? Do they actually want to play against that? Doesn't suit them to play that way. It suits them to dictate the game now because we're using Rice in front of the back four and Phillips in and around that area. You'd see that Barella struggling to control the game, and Jorginho would be under pressure, although Jorginho's playing very well at the moment, to be fair. There's lots written on social media at the moment about the season he's having, right? So he's kind of like, if you're a Liverpool fan, you could compare him to like a Ronnie Whelan of old. He just comes in, does his job every single week. You never have to ask him what to do. He's as reliable as they come, and people never give him the credit for their football that they deserve. So there's talk of him being in the ballot for the Ballon d'Or because of the season he's had winning the Champions League. I think that's a stretch. If I'm honest with you, I think that's a bit of a stretch. But to be fair, he's a good player, and he's very, very strong at the moment, and rightly deserve the time favourites. And anybody that beats Italy, I do believe, will go on to win it. I think Spain give too much away in the back in defensively to trouble them in the semi-final. But going forward, Spain are quite lively, so it promises to be a good watch, that one. So we'll see. But Italy for me are rightly so the favourites for the tournament, and it's not sort of media sort of sensationalism that they get the plaudits and they deserve them.
Talking about the Italy versus Spain semi-final, just something I want to talk to you about, and how this to me could be the game of the dark arts. The last game we see Italians rolling around on the floor, time wasting once they got ahead and just basically running the time down from as early as they could. Could that spoil the game versus Italy and Spain if one team gets ahead early on?
Yeah, of course it will. They've always done it. As long as you or I have been watching football, they've been susceptible to the triple backs of assault and Sarko. I think they must have been challenged. They do it. The histrionics, they do it. It's full of them. By time, unfortunately, it's a side of European football in the flamboyant countries like Italy and Spain. We see it all too often. Gone are the days when someone would smash you and you just get on with it. You know, those days are gone. And to be fair, the authorities have promoted that and allowed players to roll around the floor. And allow, you know, if I was a referee and you came running over to me like this, asking to give somebody a card, I'd give it to you. Because that might not be on your team. It's a sporting environment. Don't do it. No, doesn't look clever. It's not good. It's not class. It's actually pretty poor. You don't want your opponent sent off. You want to win a game of football. Go and win your personal battle head to head on the pitch. Don't try and wave imaginary cards at the referee's nose, trying to referee the game for him. You can ask him. That happens all the time. I think that's poor. And if I was a referee, as I say, someone run over to me, give it, referees the card, he'd get one. Because I just think it's a lack of sportsmanship. So I think that game could be quite cagey. If one team goes in front, you will see a bit of the histrionics, absolutely. Because what they do, they always have, and I don't suppose they'll ever change.
So, you're going to put you right on the spot now. There's only 4 teams left. Who's going to win it, Steve?
It's between England and Italy. And I can't call it because England's strengths make them real difficult teams to play against for Italy. And Italy are the level that we've not played against in the tournament. And, Harry Maguire's a good game against Ukraine, albeit against limited opposition. He did play well against the quite limited opposition. This is a completely different story. Their movement, and that's where he struggles up against movement. When we went to Old Trafford, won handsomely. He didn't even play in that game, so that's not correct. But he does struggle against movement. So it'll be interesting to see. Italy will ask England questions nobody else has, and England will ask Italy questions that nobody else has, because I say it again, we're in the semi-finals and England haven't conceded a goal. And that takes some doing, by the way. So, that will be a confidence that's growing inside them all the time. So it will be an interesting, should Italy and England get to the final, that will be an interesting game.
Right, perfect. So moving away from the Euros now, the big story in the Premier League, other than Sancho signing for Manchester United, was probably this. Rafa Benitez joining Everton as their new manager. So first question I want to ask is as a Liverpool supporter, Steve, how did you feel about Rafa Benitez joining Everton as their new manager?
I think as a club, we look at now, we look forward, we don't look backwards. And our fan base should do the same. What he did for the club in terms of on the pitch was tremendous. What he did for the city in terms of his integrity and his dignity and the way that he was around all of the things to do with Hillsborough is absolutely top draw, and we love him for that. So for that reason, going to Everton will not taint his legacy at Liverpool. It might with a few who don't really understand it, but for me, he's a football manager that needs a job. A job's come up close to where he lives. His family's still at home on the Wirral. He lives on the Wirral. Makes a lot of sense to do it. Is he coming back to Liverpool ever? No. Is he going to replace Klopp? No. Has that ship sailed? Absolutely. Has enough water passed under the bridge for us to allow him to go and do that? Of course it has. We owe him a debt of gratitude for many reasons, so I don't think our fans should be taken to social media and embarrassing themselves, because right now the fans are doing that for themselves, mate. Their behaviour and the way they're looking at this and the things with the bed sheets and the things that have been written on and posted back round the corner from where he lives is really poor. We were speaking about this in something midweek. As you know, living in Liverpool's become territorial. It's almost postcode wars at the moment. You can't go to certain parts of Liverpool. If you're from another part of Liverpool, for instance, you probably wouldn't be very welcome in Croxton Park or Norris Green. That's the way it's gone. So it's no surprise that territorial mindset's got into football. And the line is now drawn very clearly between Liverpool and Everton. 86, 89, 84 cup finals. We went to Wembley 3 times in 5 years, not including Charity Shield, so it's probably 5 times in 5 years. They went together. There's videos of them out pulling them through the toilet windows and stuff. They didn't have tickets. I don't know if you've seen that video. That was Liverpool and Everton fans. Those days are gone. Those that you do not sit at an FA Cup final or whatever next to an Everton fan anymore. It's a really toxic relationship. It's actually, from a relationship point of view, worse than our relationship with the Manchester United fan base at the moment. And I never thought I'd say that about anyone, but it is. So, Rafa, best of luck to him. I hope he doesn't even win a throw-in, to be honest with you, because I don't want Everton to be competitive or become a rival of any nature for us. But don't begrudge the man a job. Absolutely not. Good luck to him. Get up with it. Go and enjoy it. Be brave. If you don't want him, he's brave. He was brave when he went to Chelsea. I think he's already proved that. So it's not like he's scared of a challenge or scared of a bit of negative feedback. And I admire that about him. If he wins the first 4 or 5 games, Ancelotti style, they'll love him. If he doesn't win the first 4 or 5 games, the pressure will mount very, very quickly. It could be over quite soon. Soon he signed a £9 million a year contract. I would imagine the payoff for that would be considerable if he doesn't see that 3-year deal or get to a point where that can be extended. So I just hope the Everton fans give him a chance, because he is a good manager. He's not his peak. He's not going to get any better. We had him when he was at his absolute best. He was a sharp tactical mind and football politics and rants about Manchester United and Fergie time and all that stuff. Before all that came, Benitez was a quality tactician. We know this. We've seen it time and time again. And he'll give a bit more of that to Everton in the same way that Ancelotti did. So these 2 guys that Everton have had as last manager and this manager have been around a long time and got great knowledge, and they get chewed out of the team. So they should just give him a chance. Just give him a chance. Be a bit better than they think he will. To put the Liverpool thing, because we've got no hang up with it, so I don't know why they have.
Last night I was asked by Everton what they thought. I thought they were getting him, Benitez. And the word I used over and over again was ruthless. Because one of the things I can remember is if he thought a player wasn't good enough, they didn't last very long at the club. Even if they were only there for 6 months, they were only there for 6 months. So we'll ask you a similar question at stage. What are Everton getting as a football manager? How good is he? And can he still be as good as what he was at Liverpool? And can he bring them success?
Well, you're right. Ruthless is a really good analogy. And this is interesting because when he signed for Liverpool, he was quoted as saying, the reason why I left Valencia and was flying high in La Liga, they'd been to a Champions League final, they'd won the league and stuff. He'd said he asked for a dining room table and chairs and got a coffee table. That was his way of saying that the funds weren't there to back him in the transfer market because he wanted to kick on and go to the next level. He's going to get that backing with Mejiri and the guys that are running Everton at the moment. Mejiri's got more money than he knows what to do with, so there's no problem with backing him financially. That will be quite good for Rafa because he will spend. He likes to spend. I think that was part of the problem at Liverpool, in that when he was manager of Liverpool, David Moyes just didn't have the money to give to him that Mejiri's got, Everton have got general to give to him to go out and spend. So he will do that, and he will buy players for a tactical system. He'll make them better. He will make them better. I think that the end of the season was pretty poor for Everton, and if it wasn't Carlo Ancelotti in charge, I think Everton would have been looking at what to do with the manager anyway, because they went from 6 games to go, the fringes of a Champions League challenge, to what they ended up with, which was quite poor. Their last 3 or 4 home games were absolutely dreadful. No, he can't make them what he was when he was a Liverpool manager because he's not the same person. He's got different motivations. He's at a different stage in his life. He came to Liverpool and his stock was high. His stock's not particularly high at the moment. I think that's the Everton fans' problem. He's come from a job in China. He's come from a job in Newcastle where he didn't do what he wanted to do. And again, it came down to financial backing. And then he's been followed by Steve Bruce, who actually did better than Rafa did in terms of a league position. The big difference being that for some reason Newcastle couldn't spend the money that Rafa couldn't get in the summer and did put players of a decent standard in front of Steve Bruce. So they're going to get a tactician. They're going to get a man, like you say, who's ruthless, a man that is not a man manager in the way that some managers are. Never going to go and give a player a hug. He's quite cold in that respect. but he'll make some of the players better players because he'll make it very clear what their roles are within the club, and you'll see a slight difference in the way that they play. I think they'll be slightly more defensive because that was one of the things he did with us. Ironically, improving our defensive structure in the Champions League final gave us a platform to get back into that game, because by bringing Dini Haman on the whole, Qatar was filling and destroying us. A tactical switch, which was a defensive switch, that allowed us a bit more time on the ball further up the pitch. Without going into all of that, because we all know what happened on that day, he has got a defensive strategy. He's a defensive manager.
And just to wrap up on Everton before we move on to the next topic, is there any plays at Everton that you think Benitez will do particularly well with? Develop them to a certain standard?
The defenders. We've spoken about this before. Godfrey looks like a half-decent prospect. He'll benefit from playing with him. He likes his left backs. He does. He likes. You look at Lucas Digne. You look at the things he offers. He's kind of a more available version of Fabio Aurelio in terms of his great with the set ball. He's got a good cross on him. He's got a good engine. He gets up down the pitch. You will like him. Seamus Coleman, if he's still there, I don't know what's happening with him. He'd like him too because of his work ethic and his energy. The interesting one is how he changes with Richarlison, because I don't know if there's a more disliked football player in the Premier League than Richarlison. Jordan Pickford's been an idiot, we know that, but he's behaved himself in the Euros. He's been half-decent keeper, and I don't know what it is when he plays for Everton. All rivalries and logic and rationale goes out the window. Benitez will need to curb that to get the best out of him. But the likes of Godfrey, Digne, Coleman, even Dominic Calvert-Lewin's development will continue because those are the types of players that Benitez will want, players that will kind of run through the wall for you. Dominic Calvert-Lewin works really, really hard. I've said before, since signing for Sheffield United, and being a bit part player of Everton, he's gone away and worked really hard, listened to some good advice from people, and he warranted his place in the England squad for some of them. He really did. So fair play to him. Benitez will make them all tactically more astute. I think he'll teach them their roles, even in a more intense way than Carlo Ancelotti did. I think Benitez is more intense than Ancelotti.
So there was another managerial appointment that, compared to Rafa Benitez, who sort of sneaked under the radar a little bit, even though the team is rather a large club. So what do you think on Nuno to Spurs, Steve? I think we called it on our last episode, didn't we?
We did. Everybody called that one because Spurs were running out of options, weren't they? Nuno to Spurs. Nuno is a good manager. I think people will look at last season and go, "Oh yeah, but Wolves were poor to watch anyway." To be fair, but then they look sick of an injury to Raul Jimenez, was the focal point for them. Also, the long-term injury to Daniel Podence, who's also a quality player, and Neto also picked up injuries as well. So his attacking thrust was somewhat subdued by injuries. If you look back at what Wolves did in the Championship when they played 3-4-3 and they had everybody available, they were unbelievable to watch. And you often find that football managers build a squad and the style of play that goes around the people that they've got rather than what they actually want to do. So you look at your squad and you say, right, that's coming into Spurs. What have they got? When Harry Kane's going to go, that looks likely. So I need to find a replacement for him. But if I play my 3-4-3, I've got Son on the left, Lucas Moura on the right. Behind him, I can go with Danny Ali and Hoyvier, whatever his name is. And then I've got his options are superb for the style of football that he played in the year that Wolves got promoted. I think it's a hard job because I think Spurs fans are owed something by the club for the way they've been treated since the Champions League final. We saw our manager in the bar at the hotel at 5 a.m. singing Liverpool drunk with the fans on the night we lost to Real Madrid. So he chose not to dwell on the defeat and chose to use the adversity of the defeat to challenge the players to go more the following season. Pochettino didn't do that. Pochettino started to become self-absorbed, started to moan about things in press conferences from pre-season to the point when they parted their ways. I have some sympathy with him because Enoch and Daniel Levy didn't back him, and this is the issue. Are they going to back Nuno? If they sell Kane, for instance, for £115 million, that's just a figure plucked out of the air, by the way. How much of that money do they give to him to spend? How much of that 115 can he go? Because he needs three. He needs a pair of centre-backs. Sanchez and Alderweireld last year were really, really ineffective at the heart of the central defence for them. And I know Eric Dyer stepped in there, but Eric Dyer's a myth. I can't see what the attraction is with Eric Dyer. He plays everybody onside all of the time. I don't understand why Mourinho thought he was brilliant. I don't get that. I don't see it personally. So there's a bit of a rebuilding job to do there. But do you know what? In all of this to do with Spurs, they've got this fantastic stadium that they're trying to get the NFL, trying to get the Super Bowl final, for God's sake. Do you know what I mean? They've got this fantastic stadium that is possibly the best football stadium in the world in terms of its facilities and the way it is. They now need to give the manager the opportunity to give the fans a team that stadium deserves, and the Spurs fans something they deserve for the way they stuck the club through 72 days from the day they sacked Mourinho to the day they recruited somebody else, and they've still got to pay Mourinho off. You know, and Ryan Mason stepped into the breach, and it was a no-win situation for that guy. Yeah, it's good experience for him. That's all it is, good experience for him. So Spurs, Nuno, could have done worse. Fonseca would have been a worse appointment than Nuno. I think there's lots of good things about Nuno that we like. Spurs is a project that needs to start again, because to say it was intransigent is probably not being fair. It's gone backwards since getting to the Champions League final. They should have kicked on from there. They should have used that as a platform to say, we were good enough to get there once. Now we need to kick on and see what we can achieve domestically and again in the European environment going forward. But it didn't. It's just they wallowed in self-pity. That would destroy any team.
So I like putting you on the spot. I'm going to put you on the spot again, Steve. So who finishes above who? Spurs or Everton? Who finishes above the other?
Everton will finish above Spurs.
You think Everton finish above Spurs? Yeah, I think they will as well. I think
not
Everton
just because of Benitez. Not just because of Benitez, because they're closer to the finished article in terms of what their game plan is, what their players are. You know, they've got central defenders that can do the job of a central defender, like him or not. You know what I mean? He's not a bad central defender. Michael Keane is a decent central defender. They've got Godfrey, so they could go to a back three and push Digne and Coleman or whoever replaces Coleman up to be like wing backs. And that wouldn't be a surprise if they did that. And then you look at their midfield against Spurs. Højbjerg's a great player, mate. He's come on leaps and bounds since he joined from Southampton. But Everton, they've got like Alan, they've got Decore, they've got James Rodriguez. There's a bit of quality in there, isn't there? You know, so you'd think they'd be a bit closer to it. So I think the Tottenham job's almost to start again in terms of the project. It's faltered. So it needs to change. He needs to change it. He needs to give Spurs fans attacking football. I read or heard somewhere that Spurs fans would sacrifice the Carabao Cup for an attacking brand of football over a season. They'd rather play well than win the Carabao Cup playing badly. You know, they've had Glenn Hoddle. They've had Paul Gascoigne. They've been brought up on decent footballers. Not what we saw last season from them. So the project for Spurs starts again under Nuno, and he's a good guy. And in his first season at the moment, when they came back up from the Championship, they played some lovely football. And there's no reason why he can't get that formation going against Spurs, at Spurs, because he has the manpower to do it.
So next, the big transfer news in the Premier League was Sancho signs for United. So what do you think on that, Steve? What does that do for United compared to the people around them?
I don't know. Look, Sancho is clearly a good footballer. Is he world class? No. You can't say he's world class because he's not tried tested in the Premier League. He's got the potential to be world class, absolutely. Comes down to the one thing. When you buy a player of that ability at 73 million quid plus add-ons, can Ole Gunnar Solskjaer make him a better player? I don't think so, because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer doesn't seem to work coaching on the squad. He is a good signing for Manchester United as a football club. I'm not sure he's a good signing for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because I'm not sure he'd know how to get the best out of him. He actually plays better on the left than on the right. So from that perspective, he could play right across Manchester United's front three, which will solve part of the problem for them on the right-hand side. £73 million on a right midfielder is probably not the best way for Manchester United to spend that money. They desperately need a centre-half, and they desperately need a six like a Fabinho character. We've seen the best of Paul Pogba at times. I mean, the goal he scored the other round was ridiculous. That's the best Paul Pogba you can get, the French version. Is what Manchester United are trying to do. They don't give him that license. They don't give him that freedom. He has to do defensive responsibilities, and he can't do it. Not he won't do it. He can't do it. He's not got that in him to be that guy. So they need to change their system. They need to play more like the French do to get the best. You should be saying to Paul Pogba, have a good day, son. Go and enjoy yourself. Go and express yourself. Do what you do. Just do it. Just go and enjoy it.
Do you see that type of player coming in for Manchester United? I've seen them linked with Declan Rice and players like that. Do you think a player like that will come in?
Yeah, I do see the buying of six. They've got to, because Manchester United fans have got a little term for their holding midfielders, and they call them McFred, and they just ridicule them constantly because they're not what they want. They're not what they want. Fred plays differently for Brazil than he does for Manchester United. It comes down to the plan, comes down to the coaching. They do play in a certain way. You can see, to quote the Devil's avocado, you can see patterns of play. They're more out of habit rather than tactical awareness. You see Maguire stepping forward with the ball. If he loses that ball when he steps forward, they're in all kinds of trouble because he can't recover because he's got no pace and because the screen in front of the back four is quite poor. So if they're going to buy another player, there's talk of Varane, but I think Varane's been exposed this summer for being a little bit of pace is great. Does he read the game particularly well? Not convinced. Be interesting to see. Be interesting to see if they got a Varane. It will cost a lot of money. He could be using Manchester United to find his way into a new contract at Real Madrid in the way that Ramos did over the years. Ramos often threatens to leave just to get a new contract. So Sancho makes Manchester United slightly better in that regard, but not when they need it. I think if you could pick a game out that highlighted all Manchester United's problems, you'd go to the game and we beat them at their place. That polarised all of Manchester United's issues and showed you everything in one game. The midfield was overrun. They couldn't deal with the movement up front, and even when they scored, Liverpool never felt like they were out of that game. Liverpool always felt like they could create chances. And I've said this to you many, many times before. Against Liverpool, against Chelsea, against Manchester City, and against Manchester United, they are free games. Go and be brave. When you're brave, like Leeds are, you get things against teams. Leeds scored 3 goals at Anfield at the end of the game of the season. Leeds beat Manchester City and ended up with 10 men on the pitch. Chelsea were brave in the Champions League final against Manchester City, pushing the ball in the channels, keeping them honest, using Vera in a very clever way. If you're brave against these sides, they give you get opportunities. So that's what they've got to be able to fight. When we've got our full squad, Liverpool, people can try and be brave. We normally have enough to deal with it. If Manchester United are pushing a high line up from the back, pushing a high line, and people are brave against them, they'll get in behind them. So they've got to address those things. And for that reason, we need a centre-back. Varane is quick, yes. Big and strong, yes. Remains to be seen whether he can do it in the Premier League. And if they get a 6, if they get a genuine world-class 6, not that there's too many around at the moment, then Manchester United's season could be better next season than it was this season, and they could genuinely be contenders. God help us all, mate, if they get a proper manager who knows what to do with their players.
Stu Mac there has mentioned right back. Now, I see a lot of Manchester United fans are telling us how good Wan-Bissaka is at right back. But for this summer, they've been linked with Trippier. They've been linked with Hakimi. Do you think Young United needs to replace Wan-Bissaka, or do you think that's a position that they could leave for now?
I spend a lot of time on pods with Man United fans, but they don't think Wan-Bissaka is particularly clever in going forward, and positionally wise, not as brilliant. Look, what he is, he's the best guy in the world at sliding and winning the ball. But, to quote Maldini, if I have to make a slide tackle, I've already made a mistake, which is true. It's a last gasp thing and it can go spectacularly wrong. They have been linked with Hakimi, who's a decent player, but he's also been linked with PSG. PSG have thrown a bit of money around, getting Donnarumma, getting Ronaldo, obviously. Didn't want to say that hurts. And then looking at Hakimi as well. So they need competition in the right back position. So do we. You've got two decent right backs. Trent's different cat of fish than Wan-Bissaka going forward. that Wan-Bissaka's better than Trent defensively. If you can find the best hybrid of the two, you have almost a complete right back with you. But they both need to get competition in the right back position because both those guys are not under threat for anybody.
Someone's a fan of Hakimi there, Steve.
No, that's fine, mate. That's fine, mate. What he is, he's very, very quick and it's pretty good going forward. I have to be honest. I don't sit and watch him playing for the team he plays for at the moment. So he could be absolutely superb. But why in 3 years we'll just spend £50 million on Wan-Bissaka and £60 million on Hakimi, and then possibly put Wan-Bissaka on the bench? That makes no sense. They could play him as in a back three and play with wing backs, which would solve their width problem. That would be different altogether because Wan-Bissaka could be a right-sided central defender because of his physical attributes. I think Hakimi's going to go to PSG anyway, because it seems to be fashionable to do that at the moment, doesn't it? So we'll see. But Sancho to United is an interesting signing. He's not world class yet. He's very good, but he's not world class yet. He needs to prove that he can be, and Manchester United will give him a platform to do that.
We just mentioned more than a couple of incomers from PSG, but let's talk about one potential outgoing from PSG. And the news this week that Mbappe could possibly leave next season on a free. Do you think that's going to happen, Steve? Do you reckon he'll sign an extension so PSG can get the money in? Do you see him run his contract down so he goes on a free, or do you think he'll leave this summer?
2 clubs in the world can afford to let their superstars walk out the door for free. Manchester City and PSG. Nobody else really. Chelsea to some degree. The logical thing for someone to do is to test them this summer with a £125 million bid or something similar, just to see, because then they don't lose anything, do they? They could use the money to replace. He hasn't really done too much in the Euros to make people go a whole bunch on him, has he? He wasn't great. Obviously, the penalty missed at the last game as well. He's crying out for a manager that can get the best out of him. He's crying out for a Jurgen Klopp, basically. Jurgen Klopp would give Mbappe the impetus, the discipline, the role, and the place within a team doing a specific job that would see that guy go from strength to strength. You and I and all the other people that we've had on our pod to talk this one to death. Mbappe is a perfect marketing machine. If Liverpool signed him, played for Liverpool till he was 26, and went to Real Madrid for £400 million. That's the most FSG thing to do in the world. I just don't see it happening. I think he'll end up extending his contract at PSG. I genuinely do. And then PSG are in the driving seat when they come to his next move. He won't stay there forever. It really depends on how and when Real Madrid get hold of any money, because that's the key. You know, he seems to be attracted to that as well. But he's also attracted to that because of Zidane. Now Zidane's not there and Carlo Ancelotti's gone back in. Does that change anything? I'm not sure. Do I see him coming to Liverpool? No, not really. I'd be stunned if it came up on Twitter that he'd signed and be as gobsmacked as you. I'll be made up, but I just don't see it happening. I think he'll lengthen his contract, and then he'll be a £200 million signing for Real Madrid, and they've got money.
So as people know, still watch the show, me and you are avid Liverpool fans, and if you didn't know, you can obviously tell from our backgrounds. So we'll have a little discussion about our own club before we close. As ever, Liverpool over this summer, have been linked with numerous amounts of players, and this week it seems to be the turn of Samuel Doku and Renato Sanchez. So we spoke about Renato Sanchez before staying. We were linked heavily with him around about January. And then everything went quiet. And then over the last 2 days, it seems to pop back up again about Renato Sanchez. So 2 questions for you is, do you think he's what Liverpool need? And number 2 is, do you think Liverpool will sign him?
I'd like them to sign both. Because we've spoken about Sanchez and the fact that physically and tactically, he's as close to Gino Wijnaldum as you're probably going to find. I don't think we change our shape too much because most of our players involved in the Euros or Copa America at the moment, so they go back with limited windows, make tactical changes for a formation change. Doku is, you watch him the other night, mate, just raw talent. He backed himself to beat someone 5 yards away from the touchline, and that genuinely belief in your own pace. And he got there too. Bit raw, rough around the edges. Been so well documented that Klopp once said he's a potential replacement for Sadio Mane. I can see that. I can see why that would be something that is being repeated. Good player, quick player, very brave, physically powerful, very, very fast. Would suit our style of play because our transition's quite quick, isn't it? We play on the counter quite a bit when it breaks down with the opposition attacking us. Yeah, he's at Rennes. Does he have another season at Rennes? Do we buy him and lend him back to Rennes for a season? I don't know. Both these guys, there seems to be a bit of gathering momentum in the press at the moment for them. Look, you know my feelings on In the Nose. They're called I Don't Knows, not In the Nose. So who knows? Klopp's lying on the beach at the moment, not spilling his guts to people on Twitter about who's signing for the football club. So we should remember that. We will sign who we want to sign. Just as we did with Fabinho, that was not seen. Just as we did with Jota, again, not seen or reported on to any degree. When it broke about Fabinho, he don't really have his medical. That's how far down the line that's gone. So they do play their cards close to their chest. They do give little snippets, little indicators out to the press, which is just a case of telling them what they think they want to hear and let them know stuff which can't do too much damage. But if these two guys join, and we've already got Canate, who's already now a Liverpool player, that's not the worst transfer window in the world because you get your additional competition up front. And you add a player to the midfield that has had a great Euros, particularly in the last game, and lost it in the middle of the park. It was really good. After his Bayern move, it never happened for him there. He was on loan to Swansea, who went down the trapdoor without any fight at all. You can't judge Renato Sanchez on his loan to Swansea. If you're doing that, you shouldn't really be watching football, to be honest with you. He's got lots of qualities, mate. He's physically so strong, and he moves well, and he protects the ball well, and he passes through the lines. I'd like both these guys to join in the summer with Canate, and I think, another one I've spoken to you about, Tsimikas doesn't seem to work out. Napoli are sniffing around him. Why not sign Patrick Van Aanholt, sells Tsimikas to Napoli? Yeah. You've got another guy, a Dutch guy there that goes away on international duty with Van Dijk. You've got to try and keep these players happy. They do it. They do bring players into the club that other players will benefit from in terms of having them around. And he's quick, and he's playing international football whenever the Dutch players picked. So someone thinks he's good, and he'd be a backup left back to Robbo. So like I said before, he's rapid. So it just hasn't worked for Tsimikas. So get these two guys in anyway would for me be a good transfer window.
And the thing about them is they're both two young players. Renato Sanchez, I think, is 23. Doku's what, 19, 20? So there's potential to Klopp to turn them into whatever he wants to, isn't there? So I think we'll wrap up there, Steve. We've enjoyed the show there. Thanks for joining me, Steve.
No worries.
If you like what you've listened to, please follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. That's Football Focus with only one L. And we'll see you around. Thanks for joining.